Hello and welcome to this introduction to Overdrive session. The event today will focus on the use of Overdrive as an extranet, enabling you to share information with contacts outside your organization. My name is Sean Power and I'll be taking you through the session today. So thanks everybody for joining. If I could ask you to mute your mics if they are unmuted during the session, that would be great. If you do have any questions during the event, then we've got a chat box in the Meet event itself. Just click on the comment icon at the top right hand of the screen to open that up. We'll also open up the mics at the end of the session so you can ask your questions directly through your mic if you wish to. And we'll reply directly after the session to those questions we don't get a chance to answer during the event. But we will make sure we follow everything up. So please just ask the questions as they occur to you. The event today will last around 30 minutes and we'll make a recording available afterwards so you can review the information or share the event with your colleagues or anybody else who's interested in reviewing the information. So Overdrive is designed for organizations using Google Workspace. And we're using Google Workspace as the term, not G Suite, in this event. We are gradually making the change across. And the reason for this is because it's deeply integrated with Workspace and it lets you create a website or a portal automatically from content held in Drive and elsewhere across Workspace and beyond. With Overdrive, you can create great looking web pages and portals without the need for any specialist skills. You simply decide what content you wish to share, choose from a wide range of page types and content types to suit your content and audience, and then add in your users. And you'll see how this works as we go through the demonstration during the event. Your users will have easy online access to the resources and information that they need. And also, any site created by Overdrive is automatically mobile friendly, so your users can access the site on any device that they choose. The key strength of Overdrive is the range of potential uses available, such as intranets, extranets, which we're talking about today, education portals, event sites, etc. And as you'll see in the demonstration, a site can be created very quickly to share information with people outside or inside the organization. Overdrive is hosted on Google Cloud Platform, and Google uses GCP to host its other well-known services, such as Gmail, Drive, YouTube, Google Search, etc. So GCP provides global scalability and world-class security for Overdrive and allows our team to concentrate on adding new and exciting features to the product. We have Overdrive customers worldwide, and here is a selection from different industries and different locations, and also different uses of Overdrive, as you can see. With some customers, such as Tarmac and Western Homes, we have curated customized Overdrive solutions to meet their specific requirements. Overdrive sites can be made public on request, and a good example of this is UNESCO Sardona, which uses Overdrive to share large quantities of scientific research information. So hopefully that was giving you some background information on Overdrive before we get to the demonstrations. We have two demonstrations for you today to hopefully bring everything to life. The first is a recorded video of the site creation process. Then I'll show you some of the features of Overdrive, which are used on a public extranet site, just so you can see how that would work. So first, the video.
With Overdrive, you can set up a great-looking site in minutes using content from Google Drive. Today, I'm going to create an extranet site for my company, Sandford. We're an office furniture company and need to make our product and marketing information available to our distributors, and all without them having to know anything about Google Drive or having a Google account. Overdrive sites are built from Google Drive folders, and for this site, I'm going to start with this area, which contains the folders I want to share. The Files folder has subfolders and a variety of file types, as you can see. And in Brochures, there's a Google Doc for every product in the range. Once I've connected Overdrive to Drive, I can use this menu to both create new sites and jump across to existing ones. I'm going to sign in using my Google account, but in a minute I'll configure the site to allow my users to sign in using other methods. This interactive tool is great for finding your way around Overdrive when you come to build your own site, but I'll close it down for now. As you can see, my site has been automatically created using the content in Google Drive. Notice how all of the folders from Drive are now pages in the menus, and they'll stay in sync if I make changes in here or in Drive. And the contents of the folders has been brought across too. Now my distributors have friendly, easy access to the same files and folders we use internally. The Brochures folder needs to look way better, so I'm going to use Page Builder over here on the pencil icon to turn the folder tile into a blog. Each brochure now shows with a thumbnail image extracted from the doc and the first few sentences of text. My colleagues can create new brochures in Drive or right here. And they can edit them in Drive or right here. My site design is looking a bit basic, so I'm going to use Template Designer to pick a template that better suits my corporate colors. These advanced settings give me lots more control over the design and layout if I want to go further. And now I'm going to find my company logo. And while I'm in site settings, I'm going to switch to the security tab. I can invite users individually, but I can also allow anyone from specific domains to log in. So I'm going to paste a list of domains belonging to the stakeholders that I want to access the site. Now I'm going to choose the methods that I want to allow them to sign in. And while I'm here, I'll set up some groups that will allow me to restrict certain pages to the members of those groups. And finally, I'll set the welcome message that they'll see before they sign in. Now let's work on the home page, which is always an important page for any site. I'm going to use the same welcome text for after they've signed in. The Assets folder is where I'm going to keep logos and other files needed for the site, and I don't need it to appear in the menus, so I'll switch it off like this. And now I'm going to use Page Builder again to replace the folder tile with some more interesting content. I'm going to start with an image box. And pick something inspirational to brighten things up. Now as I move down the other tile categories, from Google Drive, you'll see I can add folders and files from my drive and shared drives, as well as content from other G Suite apps, including Calendar. I'm just going to configure this to show my marketing calendar, which contains important dates that my distributors need to know about. Contacts, maps, photos, and Google Groups. From social networks, I'm going to add a Twitter tile. Overdrive is also integrated with other cloud apps such as Microsoft OneDrive and Smartsheet, and has a variety of other tiles to aid productivity, such as workflow, and collaboration, such as the discussion tile. Now let's log out and take a fresh look. There are the login methods I chose, including email address and password with automatic registration. And here's the home page my stakeholders will see when they sign in. And there we have it, a great looking site in around 5 minutes that will form the basis of my new G Suite powered extranet.
Great, so hopefully that's given you an idea as to how you can create sites very quickly and some of the features that you can add to your site. What I'm going to do now, as I said, is to show you what a finished extranet site could look like and some of the features particularly relevant for that type of site. And as I've mentioned, if there are any questions as we go through, just bob them into the box, or we'll open the mics at the end of the session. So this is our demonstration extranet site. And we'll send you the link to this site after today's session so you can visit yourself, as it's a public site. And it's created to show what an extranet site could look like. In this case, for this fictitious furniture manufacturer called Sandford. For this part of the event, I will show you a handful of the many features available, which are useful when using Overdrive as an extranet, and just to build on the previous demonstration. This is the homepage, which is similar to one we saw on in the video, and it highlights some of the features which might be appropriate for your homepage, in addition to those shown earlier. And one of the great features of Overdrive is its ability to display content to the visitors in different ways. And this page shows an embedded Google Doc. So here we take the content of a Google Doc and embed them directly onto this page. And in this case, we've added a neat feature which allows us to paginate the document from page to page to make it navigation even easier for your users. We can also provide the ability for our users to edit the document on this page without ever leaving Overdrive. Again, just adds to the ease of use for your users. It's possible to share other types of content with users on your extranet site too, using Overdrive. On this page, we're sharing contact information, the contact data coming directly from Google Contacts in this case. And here we see a list of contacts, and I have the opportunity to choose what information is displayed in this list to my users. I can also filter this list very quickly to find the contact that I want. Then I can click through to see more information about that contact if required. This is a great example of how Overdrive can take existing workspace data and enhance the presentation of it to make it easier to share with users and for those to interact with it. In addition to embedding Google Docs, as we showed earlier, we can also display Google Sheets in an interesting and friendly manner. In this case, we're showing a fairly simple price list, but it gives you an idea of how an embedded sheet could be used. I can quickly sort the sheet either way, and it's displayed on the page. And I can also filter the contents very quickly, again, to find the information that I want. And this is very useful when dealing with large sheets with lots of data. Clicking on an item, as we saw in the contacts, displays a pop-up window with additional information, which isn't shown in the original view, such as an image or other column in the underlying Google Sheet. And again, the site administrator can decide what information is displayed to the users at what stage. Discussions are an important element of most extranet sites, and Overdrive caters for these very well, as well as providing the option of including discussions on pages with other content, such as a document or an image. Specific discussion pages can be created, such as this sale announcement one here. These discussions can either be public, so everybody on the site can see them, or they can be private and restricted to certain users. We can also embed other types of documents in your extranet site too, as we mentioned previously. And on this page, we're actually displaying a Google Data Studio report with a product availability. Now, the source of this data remains Google Data Studio. We're not changing that source. We're just displaying it within this Overdrive site. And I can expand the report to full screen if I wish to. And these reports are interactive too, so I can see details behind the information. And finally, one more thing, which I'll show you on the site, is a calendar. And the reason for that is calendars is often a requirement to share important dates and events with your Extranet users. This is easily accomplished with Overdrive, as we can incorporate your Google calendars into the site. Here we're showing a calendar which is displaying some events relevant to the audience. I can change the view from the default view, which is a monthly in this case, and I can change it either to weekly, daily, or agenda as appropriate. I can also, to add some more flexibility, I can also incorporate multiple calendars onto this page and display them together, which again will be needed in some circumstances. So that's all I wanted to show you on the Extranet demo site for now. There are plenty of other features available which are contained within this public site. So I would encourage you to visit it after the event and see some of the other features we haven't shown today. Okay, so here's a quick summary of the main benefits of using Overdrive. As you saw in the demonstrations, an Overdrive site can be created automatically using Google Drive folders and files. And building a site is fast and efficient compared with traditional methods, and no specialist skills are required. Many types of content can be transformed automatically into powerful and user-friendly web pages. And pages can be easily updated or maintained by editing the original file, either from the site itself or from its source location. This sync between Overdrive and the source location enables the site to be automatically updated when content changes at either end. And now just a quick look at the licensing model. So Overdrive pricing starts at $1 per user per month. And we have a 25% discount available for education and non-profit users, as well as bulk volume discounts. The number of sites that can be created is unlimited, which means your users can create as many sites for as many different uses as they need under this licensing scheme. And we have further information on the pricing plans on our website, which is overdrive.io. And again, we'll send you the link to that after the event. Okay, so that's kind of the end of the formal presentation. If there are any questions, we can take those now, and we'll ask as many as we can. First of all, to the chat box. So James, aside from the recording, may I request to a certificate as well? Yeah, we don't provide a certificate for the course, but obviously you'll have it in your calendar, so that will be a confirmation that you attended. Question from George, won't it have legal issues? I'm not sure what you're talking about, George. Perhaps you could elaborate on that, and we'll happily answer that question. And is it possible to share information confidential, specific to unique suppliers, such as invoices, etc.? Questions from Sven. Yes, absolutely. There's a number of ways that we can do that. The ways in which we can segment the information within Overdrive. So very simply, the easiest way is to inherit Google Drive permissions. So if I can see the folder or the document within Google Drive, then I can see that folder within Overdrive. That's probably the easiest way. Another way that we can do it, we have a concept and a feature within Overdrive called Overdrive Groups. And Overdrive Groups allows us to dictate what users from what groups can access what pages on each site. So that's a very good way for sharing specific sections of the site with specific users. And then Extranet is a great use case for that, because often you have multiple organizations coming into the site and wanting to see different information, which is useful. A couple of things I haven't mentioned. So when you create a site, an Overdrive site, you are allocated a fairly ugly random number as the site number. You can change that to be whatever you want it to be. So that could be a subdomain of your main domain, so extranet.yourdomain.com, for instance, or it could be a completely different domain as necessary. So once you're on a paid subscription, then you can request that happens on your site, and we can set that up for you. Question from Colin. If I allow students to access only their folders, would it prevent other students from accessing them? Absolutely, Colin. That's the way that it would work. So as I mentioned before, you can either dictate that within Google Drive and inherit those permissions, or you can set up Google Groups. So you can decide what pages and what sections each user or each group of users can access on the site. The licensing model, as I mentioned, allows you to create as many different sites as you want. So there may be some circumstances where you want a specific site for particular users. Probably not relevant for students, but if you have a small number of large clients, it may be easy to create a specific site for each client to make it easy for sharing purposes. Just coming back to George, I won't have legal issues on copyrights. Well, it's the same as Google Drive, really. So if I can see the information in Google Drive, if I can share that information from Google Drive, and all I'm doing is providing a different mechanism for sharing the information on my Overdrive site. Question from Amol. If I want to convert it into a blog, will it be possible to connect to a specific domain? Absolutely. So as I mentioned before, it could be a whole domain, which is relevant for this blog, or it could be a subdomain. So it could be blog.yourdomain.com, as you see fit. Okay, that's the questions completed in the chat box. If there's any more, please just pop them in there, or just unmute yourself and ask the question, and we'll happily answer. If not, I'll continue. So here are some recommended next steps in your investigation of Overdrive. You could create a trial site to try out some of the features shown in this demonstration. And as I said, we'll send you the links to create a site after this session, and also to our public demonstration sites, so you can visit them and you can see what a finished site may look like. If you have more complex requirements, we can arrange an individual call or consultation with either ourselves or one of our partners to discuss your specific requirements. So we'll follow up with that information. If anybody is interested, we do have a little bit of time. If you're interested in creating a site straight away, then we'll be showing you the site creation process straight after this event. So if you just want to just say yes, just to indicate that you want to in the chat box, and then we'll hang around just after this session is finished. For everybody who isn't interested in that session, then thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time. As I said, we'll follow up with the information, and if you have any questions, then please come back to us. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
No problem. It looks like some people are interested in the site build process, so just give me a couple of minutes and we'll start that. So hang on if you want to see that.
Sean, quick question.
Sure.
Is it possible to share with non-Google accounts?
Yes, it is. So as well as being able to sign into the site with methods other than Google, such as Microsoft, Facebook, even Salesforce, then you can also share information with non-Google accounts as well. There are some complexities about, particularly if you want to segment information. between users. So it's definitely worth having a conversation with us to work out the best method for that. But absolutely, it is possible.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions just before we start the site build? No. Okay. So let me just share my specific tab here. So the demonstrations that we've seen so far have been in a demonstration account. So there's some real information in there, but quite a lot of it's spurious, which it might be why you've seen demo floating around both on the invite and some of the documentation. There are two ways for you to create a site, an Overdrive site. And it depends on the maturity of your content, really. So one way is, I know I need a site. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what content I want. It's going to be more of a fluid creation process. So I'm going to just create a site and I'll add my content in as I go. And to do that, we go to our dashboard here at app.overdrive.io. I'm not going to show this method because this is it's more fluid. As I said, it's less formal, but we'll send you the link to that in case you want to try that in any case. The easiest way, I'll come back to Drive, is to have a structure already sorted within Drive. So under this section here in this folder, I've got a number of folders. I'm creating an intranet here, but it's exactly the same as an extranet. It's the same process. So I've got a number of folders. These folders have got subfolders and I've got some content in here as well. So I've already sorted my structure out within a Google Drive. So what I want to do is turn that Drive structure into an Overdrive site, which is a common requirement. I've pre-authorized Overdrive, so it's easier for me. So all I need to do is come up here and say open with Overdrive. And what Overdrive does now, it looks at, let me share my tab, this one. It looks at that Google Drive folder structure and says, okay, the information that's in there, I want to base a site around that information. So I want to bring the folders across and I want to bring across any content that's in there as well. When you first create a site, you are presented with this tool, which is well worth following. It guides you through some of the steps in the processes in creating the site. I'm just going to turn that off because I'll talk about it rather than showing the tool. That's our site created. So we've taken some content from Drive and created a site. Now, I'm not going to share this because I want to do some things to tidy it up effectively, but basically it's brought all my information across. A folder within Google Drive becomes a menu item within Overdrive, including any subfolders, and you notice it's brought all the content through across as well. So it's very easy to bring lots of information across very, very quickly into your Overdrive site, which makes it useful. There are a couple of things that I want to do. I'll deal with the look and feel first of all, because I want to change the way that the site looks, because it's just not pretty at the moment. So under here, we call this our cog menu. And if you're talking to our support or our help desk, they quite often will mention the cog menu. This is the item here, because this holds essentially the administration functions of the site. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to template designer. Template design is how we deal with the look and feel of the site, the way that it looks. And a couple of things I can do. I think we showed you some of this in the video. First of all, I can choose a standard template, and these are pretty good to get you started. But if you want something very specific, you can click on the Advanced tab and you can see all the options here. So I can change fonts, colors, layouts, page sizes. I can change the way that the site operates. I can change navigation and anything else from here. I'm not going to do that too much, so I'll just change it to one of these predetermined templates. And even if I change it to one of the predetermined templates, I can still change things on here. So it's a bit of a bugbear of mine. I don't like uppercase menu items. So I'll change that, and I'll change that as well. And then I can click Save, and that's committed the site changes for me and everyone else who visits the site. So I only need to do that once. And I can play about with this. I can add my logos. I can match my corporate colors to the site. I can do anything else that I want to do within that template designer to get the site to look exactly how I want it to look. If I want something more advanced, again, coming up to the cog menu, and I'll show you a couple of things in site settings. And one of those things, which may be applicable to some of you, may not be, is the developers tab, because that shows that I can add in any JavaScript or style sheet code into the site, again, to make it look exactly how I want it to look. So if there's anything more complicated than I need to do, I can do that in here. I would say that 99% of all our sites don't use these features, but when you do need them, usually people are very grateful for it, so it's there. Other things that I will do, I've got this fairly ugly site name here, so I'm going to change that. This is my, I could type corporate intranet. There we go. And I can do other things in here, such as hooking up Google Analytics, so I can see what pages are popular, what route people take through the site, etc. I can change the site language to one of these which is available, which basically changes the admin sections. And again, once you subscribe, you can decide what region you want it to be in. On the security side, there are a number of ways in which we can add users to the site. One of those, which I'll show you later, is the ability to add in users individually and specifically. So I'm adding a series of email addresses saying that you've got access to this site. Another thing that I can do is add in users from a domain. So I can say that, let's say everybody from overdrive.io can access this site, which is great. I can also say that anybody, so anybody can sign in to the site if I want them to, but they do have to sign in. And everybody who signs in needs a license. One different thing about that is the ability to create a public site, again, for paid for subscriptions. So public sites, people don't need to sign in. So if any of you have been to gsuitetips.com or our overdrive.io site, both of those are created using Overdrive, but you don't need to sign in to be able to access the site and access the information. It's just you can just access it as you need to. The other thing about public sites is you can have a hybrid site where generally everybody can visit the site, but you might have a private area that you do have to sign into. And that's very useful. We've got that set up on gsuitetips.com, for instance, because we want everybody to be able to see the tips, but we've got a section that we manage the site through. So that tends to work well. I think we saw in the video we can, and we've mentioned that we can sign in using different methods, even just email and password, which is great. And then one of the ways that we can segment information, as mentioned before, is using Overdrive groups. So here is how I create my groups here. And then I'll show you as we add users how those groups are set. So I'll just add 1 or 2 here. Very good. As I mentioned, we can change logos. We can add a favicon, so that's the browser icon, which you see. And there are lots of other things. I can change the messages that users see as they log in or as they log out. And one thing I will show you is the About tab. So if you're creating a site and you need some help creating that site, you may contact our help desk. One thing we may ask you to do is to allow support access to the site. So just check that box, which means we can see some of the information. We can see the settings of the site. Can't see all the content, but we can help you if you get stuck. So we may ask you to allow support access there. And if you're testing, you want to get rid of a site, just click delete this site and then save, and that site will be deleted. As I mentioned, it doesn't matter because you can create as many sites as you want, but sometimes it's useful just to tidy up the list of sites that you have. Another thing I'll show you here under the cog menu is user settings. As I mentioned before, this is where we add users. So I can either add users just by pasting in their email addresses. And as I do that, I can decide what groups I add them to. So here I've got group A and group B, etc. We haven't talked very much about viewers and editors. So there are two types of licenses for Overdrive. One is an editor. So an editor can change content on the site. They can edit documents if they've got sufficient permissions, and they can upload new content, again, if they've got those permissions. A viewer can only consume what's there. They can comment, they can complete forms, but they can't edit existing content or add new content. So as you're uploading, adding users, then you will be just deciding whether they're a viewer or an editor. An editor has to be a site administrator has to be an editor, but an editor doesn't have to be a site administrator. So again, if you've got any issues on that, just come back to us. This is a completed user who has an editor. It's my account because I've created the site. I can add users to the site if I need to from here to particular groups. Okay, so that's kind of the general setup of the site. The other things that I need to do is decide how content is displayed on the site. And by default, what I get is this folder view. So this is looking at the Google Drive folder, looking at the contents and pulling those contents through, including subfolders like company info, finance, etc. But that may not be how I want to display information. So the way that I change the way that the content is displayed is up here in what we call Page Builder. So you'll spend quite a bit of time in Page Builder. It's how you add content and change the way content is displayed. What I can do in here is just decide what information I want, and I can just simply click on it and it's added to the page. And then I can both change the size and I can drag it around and change the location, etc. Whenever I have a tile on the page like this is an important item. It's called the configuration tool. Again, it's another cog. And this is where I configure that tile. And the options that I see depend on the type of tile that it is. So this is an image file. So Overdrive knows that I should be looking and searching for an image to add it in. This one here is a Google folder. So it's giving me different information. So again, it's worth exploring these, just giving the information where you can decide how you want to display that information. You've got all the options for Google Drive. So you can add a Drive folder like this one, or you can embed documents, spreadsheets, and slides and forms, similar to the Extranet demo site where we had that furniture insight document. That's an embedded document. So all I need to do is click that, choose the document, and I can either get it from the current site, or I can go to Google Drive, or I can pull information from shared drives. I don't even know what that is, so I'll just add that in. When I'm adding a document, I've got the option of either framing it or embedding it. So frame literally puts a frame around it. So it's viewing like a PDF. Embed rips the contents out of the site and places them on the page. So again, many more options here. Have a play, decide how you want that information to be displayed. If you add a tile by mistake, very quickly, just get rid of it just by clicking the delete button. So we've got all the Google Drive, we've got other Google items, we can add some searches in there, some social networks, and some of the more complex things. These tend to be external applications that we're bringing in, like YouTube and Smartsheet. And if anyone who is unfortunately using Microsoft OneDrive, you can add those in. And then things like workflow. So Overdrive has we've got a ability to create an approval workflow within Overdrive, and that allows it to add it to here. Once I've added made some changes, either to the configuration of the tiles or added new tiles, then all I need to do is just click Save. And those changes are committed. One more thing I will show you is our Overdrive help. So if you want to search for anything, you can do a quick search on the site and it'll point you to information. And then you can, sometimes there's a video to watch, there's lots of text for you to follow through. So you can help and see that. And another thing that you can do, I'll leave this site for now. If you go to help.overdrive.io, then that's our public help site, again, built on Overdrive. There's loads of articles on here, allows you to do a search for what you're looking for, and then you can go through and you can see that information. So that's another way that you can get some help. Within the site and within help, there's lots of links for you to contact us. One of the quickest ways is the chat here. So you can just open up a chat and our support desk will help you as needed, or you can send us an email, whichever you wish to do. So that's kind of, again, just another quick overview of how to create a site and just giving you more details, which I think is useful. As I say, we'll send you all the links to creating your site. If you do want to get on with it straight away, all you need to do is visit a site. Just go to app, that's APP. In fact, I'll put it into the chat box. app.overdrive.io, click on that, sign in, and then you can get started creating the site. And then if you've got any questions, please come back to us. Okay, so couple of questions. Colin, when you make your site, can you allocate your existing web address so it works through that web address? Yeah, absolutely, Colin. So when you're allocated a site, you are, when you create a site, you're allocated a random site number. Site, in this case, 23687.overdrive.io isn't particularly pretty. So what you can do, you can change that to be either a complete URL or a subdomain of your existing URL. So it could be extranet.subdomain.com, or it could be corporateportal.com, whichever you want it to be. And you've got complete choice depending on what your domain is. Again, if you've got any questions on that, then please just let us know. Okay, are there any other questions? You can either chuck them into the box, or you can open your mic if you want to, and then we'll help. No, okay, that's great. Hopefully you found that useful. As I said, many ways to contact us. Probably the easiest way is just reply to the email that you come through, and then you can, we'll get back to you and we'll answer any questions that you have. One last question, is Google Takeout integrated with this Google Overdrive? No, it's not. So Takeout is a different product. All the content that you use within your Overdrive site remains in its source location. So we don't remove anything from Drive or Calendar. We just look at that information. So Takeout works in exactly the same way. But the contents of Drive are not included in a Takeout export. Okay. As I said, if you need anything else, just come back to us and we'll happily help you. Okay, thank you for your time.